It's a pleasure to have you join us on another episode of the program. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. The World Bank has reaffirmed its 3.3% economic growth forecast for Nigeria in 2024, noting that the nation's economy showed mild buoyancy in the early part of the year, despite macroeconomic adjustment. However, the Apex Bank has revised the 2025 growth projection for Nigeria down to 3.5% from the 3.7% forecasted in January 2024. Now, in a similar move, the World Bank also downgraded its 2024 growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa to 3.0%, down from the 3.8% predicted earlier this year. The report highlighted that growth in sub-Saharan Africa weakened to 3.0% in 2023, with the region's three largest economies, Nigeria, South Africa and Angola, continuing to perform weakly. The federal government treats agency Nigerian Data Protection Commission (NDPC) has slammed fines amounting to 400 million naira on 4 banks and 3 other companies for infractions related to breaches of citizens' data. The Commissioner of NDPC, Vincent Olatunji, disclosed this during an interactive section with journalists to mark the first anniversary of the signing into law of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission Act by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Abuja. The Commissioner revealed that over the past year, more than 1,000 financial institutions, schools, insurance companies and consultancy firms have undergone investigations for breaches of citizens' data. He also said there were ongoing investigations concerning data infractions. We'll go on a short break and be back with the latest happenings in the corporate world.
Hello, Alahaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you're raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country. Welcome back. Tolaram Africa, a consumer packaged goods company with about 5-decade presence in Africa, has acquired a major stake in Guinness, Nigeria. Diago's company secretary, Abidemi Ademola, said the terms of an agreement for the acquisition of the shares by Tolaram was signed on June 11, 2024. Ademola said the company remain deeply committed to Nigeria and will retain ownership of the Guinness brand, which will be licensed to Guinness Nigeria for the long term, enabling the next phase of growth and development of Guinness Nigeria under the stewardship of Tolaram. According to him, following the completion of his transaction, Guinness Nigeria will remain listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited and subject to regulatory approvals. Tolaram also has plans to launch a mandatory takeover offer in compliance with local law requirements. Ancoria Asset Management, a licensed funds and portfolio manager who paid shareholders 258 million naira in dividends. This was said at the firm's 3rd annual general meeting, which was held on 12th June, where the shareholders approved a dividend payment of 258 million naira, representing a payout of about 38 kobo per share. The appointment of Esther Ugo as the Executive Director of Business Development and Investor Relations were also ratified by shareholders at the AGM. She brings over a decade of experience in business development and relationship management. Now, according to the Managing Director of Ancoria Asset Management, Folajimi Adeleye, Esther's appointment underscores Ancoria Asset Management's commitment to fostering leadership excellence and innovation. We'll go on a short break, but when Money Matter returns, we'll be discussing the revocation of the operational license of Heritage Bank by the Central Bank of Nigeria. I'll bring you details of this and more after this short break.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. The Central Bank of Nigeria has revoked the banking license of Heritage Bank PLC with immediate effect, citing the bank's persistent financial instability and breach of regulatory requirements. The decision is part of the CBN's mandate to maintain a good financial system in Nigeria, as outlined under the Section 12 of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act of 2020. Now, in a press release on June 3rd, the CBN disclosed that Heritage Bank had failed to adhere to Section 12, subsection 1 of BOFI Act of 2020, which necessitated regulatory interventions. The CBN emphasized that the action is crucial to reinforce public confidence in the Nigerian banking sector, as well as to ensure that the integrity and soundness of the financial system. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, has been appointed as the liquidator of Heritage Bank in line with Section 12, subsection 2 of the BOFIA Act 2020. Now, based on the recently adjusted maximum deposit insurance coverage levels across various banks in the country, customers of the bank may get up to 5 million naira payment from the NDIC, depending on the total deposit the customer has with the bank. Now, this is not the first time the license of a bank will be withdrawn by the Apex Bank. The operating license of Savannah Bank PLC was withdrawn by the CBN on the 15th of February 2002, on the ground that the bank did not have enough assets to meet its liability, as well as it did not also comply with the Apex Bank regulations. Now, despite the Apex Bank reassurance of the safety of deposits and the resilience of the banking system, people are still scared of how to get their money back. Now, let's discuss this further. I'm being joined by Economist Akin Ogunshola. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Ogunshola. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria revoked the banking license of Heritage Bank with immediate effect, citing the bank's persistent financial instability and the breach of regulatory requirements. Now, how long is the liquidation process expected to take, and what are the potential outcomes for the bank's assets and liabilities?
Shouldn't last more than 3 months, and that's why the NDIC has given just 1 week to pay back those depositors that have below 5 million naira. So it shouldn't be more than 3 months.
How will depositors with funds exceeding the insured limit of 5 million naira be compensated?
Yeah, for those depositors that have above 5 million, of which there are not many, we know that the statistics have shown that 99% of the customers of Heritage Bank are having less than 5 million naira in the bank as savings, as deposits there. So just only about 1% of their total customers have above 5 million. So those above 5 million, they will be compensated when the assets, are being, sold and they have recovered some money. That's when they can now pay back those that have above 5 million naira.
Okay, so since the revocation of the license of Heritage Bank, customers have expressed fears. I would like to know, what measures do you think the CBN can put in place to maintain public confidence in the Nigerian banking sector, saying that this incident is not the first that will happen? The same thing also happened to Savannah Bank in 2002, and 22 years after, some customers are yet to get their money back.
I think the CBN, what the central bank needs to do is to ensure that all the customers of Heritage Bank are being paid their money back. Because it is when customers are now going out there to say, I've lost so much money for depositing money in the bank, that's when people will now have confidence in the banking sector again. They would rather prefer to, be keeping their money themselves or look for other alternatives. But if all the customers of Heritage Bank are being indemnified, based on the insurance of their deposit, the confidence will be there that irrespective of what happens to the bank, my money is safe. Even if the bank closed down, I'm going to get my money back. That will boost the confidence. But when people are now complaining here and there that they couldn't get their money back, then that's when the problem is going to come from. People will lose confidence in the banking sector.
Well, how do you think the CBN can ensure that similar issues do not arise with other banks in the nearest future?
Oh, yes. I say CBN needs to continue to monitor and evaluate the performance of this bank per time, spontaneously, possibly maybe every month, because they regulate the banks. They receive their financial reports every month instead of waiting for annually. So at the end of the year, things might have gone bad. But I think the commercial banks, they submit their report to the CBN on a monthly basis. And on that note, CBN can now evaluate their performance, evaluate their loans, evaluate their advances, and ensure that customers' deposits are actually safe, that they are not misused, they are not embezzled, they are not mismanaged. So the central bank needs to continue to evaluate their performance spontaneously, so that it's not that they will wait until when things are now going so bad, they now say they are withdrawing the license. That is a very big hammer. But if they have been monitoring them and evaluating their performance, evaluating their decision, their corporate governance policies, and so many other things, that will help many of other banks not to from being liquidated. But effective, spontaneous monitoring and evaluation of their performance, of their deposits, of their loans and advances, that will help them to actually control what they are doing instead of waiting until things have gone so bad. Possibly maybe they were doing annual, financial evaluation. They shouldn't wait until at the end of the year. They should be doing it either monthly or quarterly review of their financial performance, of their loans and advances, and so many other things, and do forensic analysis of their operations, so that somebody don't just cook up the financial report and submit, whereas it is not showing the true and the true position, financial position of the bank. So they need to do forensic analysis of these banks, their performance, their loans and advances, their corporate governance policies, and so many other issues. That will help them to, control the banks from being liquidated or going the way of Heritage Bank.
How will this revocation impact the broader financial system in Nigeria, that's including potential ripple effect on other banks and basically financial institutions generally?
Yeah, talking about the revocation, how is it going to affect the other banks? The revocation of the license of Heritage Bank serves as a caution to other banks that if they should make the same mistake or similar mistake to what Heritage Bank has done, that will affect them also. And they probably might receive the big sanction of revocation of license from them. So it serves as a caution to them. When they've seen a colleague of theirs being disciplined in such a manner, they don't want to also be disciplined like that. So they also take some precautions to their decisions, to their corporate governance, to their loans and advances, in order to ensure that they don't also go down. So the Heritage Bank case has become, a case for them to take lessons from, and then they act on it so that they don't also go liquidated.
Well, you agree with me that the concerns of the customers of Heritage Bank is really valid. So now, what practical advice do you have for customers of Heritage Bank who are concerned about their deposits and financial transactions?
Yeah, the advice I have for them is to, follow the the laid down, guidelines by the NDIC for them to recover their funds. Luckily, just like I said, 99% of their customers have below 5 million naira in their account, so they can easily be indemnified. So the customers are expected to go to their banks. I think the NDIC staff are still going to be in the banking premises nationwide to collect their data, to collect the accounts that they want their money to be transferred to with other banks, so that their monies can be paid to them in another bank account. So the customers need to ensure that they get all the requirements as requested by the NDIC, so that they can quickly get their money within the stipulated time. Because this refund of the customers will not last for so long. NDIC said 1 week. If they will even extend at all, possibly they will extend for maybe 2 or 3 days. So the customers need to swing to action immediately and then move to the banks and fill the forms as required by NDIC, so that they can now be paid into their other bank account.
Let's discuss the financial health and regulatory compliance of other banks in Nigeria. Now, how do you think customers can evaluate the financial health and regulatory compliance of other banks in the country to avoid similar situations in the future?
Yeah, I think the central bank has a big role to play here, because now that people are now hearing if your deposit is above 5 million, it will be difficult for them to pay you back immediately. People will now be cautious of the balances they keep in the bank. So the central bank needs to still give customers assurance that their monies are safe, their deposits are safe with the bank, so that can encourage them to continue to do transactions, because the bank needs these deposits for them to trade with, to also do business. So CBN and also the commercial banks need to encourage their customers, give them quality assurance of services and of assurance of safe deposit, so that people can have that confidence to take their money to the bank.
Well, just before I let you go, Mr. Ogunshola, do you think the CBN's recapitalization policy is responsible for this?
No, it's not about the recapitalization. It's about a failure in financial decision that's been taken by the Heritage Bank. It's not in any way as a result of the capitalization. If it is the capitalization, banks are allowed to merge. They are allowed to be taken over by another bank. So Heritage Bank would have gone that route. But what actually happened pertaining to the recapitalization of the banks, it was actually a failure on, I think, loans and advances practice. And those are two different things. And that was what actually happened.
Well, Economist Akin Ogunshola, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program. Well, that's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I am Okpeyemi Owosheni. See you next time.